AI is breaking the education system. Students are outsourcing their thinking. And that might be the wake-up call we needed for decades. The education system has trained students to follow instructions, memorize information, and repeat it on command. That model worked when information was scarce. It worked when access to knowledge required libraries, teachers, and physical presence. But that world no longer exists. Today, artificial intelligence can write essays, solve equations, summarize textbooks, and generate research papers in seconds. Students can complete assignments without understanding a single concept. Teachers can no longer tell who actually did the work. The old system is collapsing because its foundation was built on information control, not critical thinking. Many people say AI is destroying education because students are cheating. But the uncomfortable truth is that the system was already fragile. If a student can pass a class by copying and pasting from a machine, the real problem is not the machine. The real problem is that the class was designed around output instead of understanding. AI exposes weak standards. It exposes lazy learning. It exposes how many students were focused on grades instead of growth. That exposure feels like destruction, but it is actually pressure, and pressure reveals weakness. This shift forces a hard question. What is education supposed to produce? If the goal is to create disciplined thinkers who can analyze problems, communicate clearly, and take responsibility for their decisions, then AI does not destroy that goal. It challenges it. A student who relies entirely on AI becomes dependent. A student who uses AI as a tool while still thinking independently becomes stronger. The difference is discipline. Technology does not remove responsibility. It increases it. The real danger is not artificial intelligence. The real danger is intellectual laziness. When students choose shortcuts over effort, they weaken their own capacity. When they avoid struggle, they avoid growth. Education was never supposed to be easy. Struggle is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. The ability to sit with a difficult problem, think through it, make mistakes, and try again builds mental endurance. If AI removes that process, students must choose to restore it themselves. This is why the disruption may be a good thing. It forces educators to rethink testing. It forces schools to emphasize discussion, debate, real-world projects, and in-person performance. It pushes learning away from memorization and toward application. In the long run, that produces stronger individuals. AI is not ending education. It is ending passive education. And for anyone willing to take ownership of their development, that is an upgrade, not a loss. The immediate reaction to AI in classrooms has been fear. Schools are rushing to block websites, install detection software, and punish students who use these tools. That response is predictable, but it misses the larger shift. You cannot ban a technology that is already integrated into daily life. Students will use AI in college. They will use it in the workplace. They will use it in business, medicine, law, and engineering. Pretending it does not exist only delays adaptation. The real issue is not access. The issue is standards. If assignments can be completed by a machine with minimal effort, then the assignments are too shallow. Writing prompts that ask for generic summaries will always be automated. Basic problem sets that follow predictable formulas will always be solved by software. That reality forces educators to design harder evaluations, oral examinations, live debates, timed in-class writing, real-world simulations, These formats measure understanding, not output. They measure thinking under pressure. AI cannot replace a student who truly understands a subject and can defend their reasoning in real time. This change also places more responsibility on students. In the past, it was possible to hide behind memorization. A student could cram information, repeat it during a test, and forget it weeks later. AI makes memorization even less valuable. When information is always available, retention alone is not power. Application is power. Judgment is power. The ability to connect ideas across fields is power. Students who recognize this will stop asking, "How do I finish this assignment?" and start asking, "What skill is this building?" That shift in mindset separates dependent learners from independent thinkers. There is also a deeper transformation happening. AI reduces the cost of information, but it increases the cost of originality. When everyone has access to the same tools, average work becomes invisible. Employers will not reward students who can generate standard reports with AI assistance. They will reward those who can interpret data, make decisions, lead teams, and take responsibility for outcomes. Education must respond by focusing less on polished papers and more on measurable competence. The market will demand proof of ability, not proof of completion. For disciplined students, this environment is an advantage. While others rely entirely on automation, disciplined individuals will use AI strategically. They will ask it to challenge their ideas, to simulate counterarguments, to test their understanding. They will treat it as a training partner, not a replacement. That approach strengthens thinking rather than weakening it. The same tool that enables laziness can also accelerate mastery. The difference is character. AI is not lowering the ceiling of education. It is raising the floor. Basic tasks will be automated. Average performance will be easier to achieve. That means standing out requires deeper effort. The students who accept this reality will become more capable than any previous generation, because they will combine human judgment with technological leverage. Those who avoid responsibility will fall behind. The system is changing. Discipline will determine who benefits. The conversation about AI in education often centers on what students might lose. Fewer essays written from scratch, less time spent memorizing formulas, less dependence on traditional textbooks. But loss is not always regression. Sometimes it is correction. For years, education rewarded compliance more than competence. Students who followed instructions precisely were labeled successful. Students who questioned the system were often seen as difficult. AI disrupts that pattern because it handles compliance effortlessly. It completes structured tasks without fatigue. That forces human effort to move toward higher ground. The higher ground is judgment. Judgment cannot be automated easily because it requires values, context, and accountability. A machine can generate options, but it does not live with the consequences. Students do. When education shifts toward case studies, decision-making scenarios, and complex problem-solving, students must take ownership of outcomes. They cannot hide behind generic answers. They must defend positions. They must explain trade-offs. They must accept criticism. That process builds maturity. It builds resilience. It builds the ability to operate in uncertainty. There is also a change in how effort is defined. In the past, effort often meant time spent completing repetitive tasks. Long homework hours were treated as proof of dedication. But time alone does not equal growth. AI reduces the time required for low-level tasks. That saved time can be wasted, or it can be reinvested into deeper study. Students who choose discipline will use the extra time to read more broadly, practice skills repeatedly, and seek feedback. Students who lack discipline will simply finish faster and move on. The technology is neutral. The outcome depends on character. Educators face responsibility as well. If they continue grading surface-level work, they encourage dependency. If they redesign courses around performance, collaboration, and measurable competence, they elevate standards. Real education requires friction. It requires discomfort. AI does not remove that necessity. It exposes where friction was artificial instead of developmental. Memorizing information that is instantly searchable is artificial friction. Defending a complex idea in front of peers is developmental friction. One wastes energy. The other builds capacity in the long term. AI may push education closer to its original purpose, preparing individuals to think independently and act responsibly in the real world. Workplaces do not reward people for recalling textbook paragraphs. They reward those who solve problems under pressure, communicate clearly, and accept accountability for results. If schools adapt correctly, graduates will leave with stronger analytical skills and practical competence. If they do not adapt, the market will correct them. AI is not the end of education. It is the end of automatic credibility. A degree alone will mean less. Demonstrated ability will mean more. That shift is uncomfortable, but it is honest. And honesty is the foundation of growth.